I started looking at this literature 10 years ago or something like that, but only on postdoc. I actually contact with a project on on sleep research and more specifically in chronopsychology. So more linked to these effects of chronotype and time of day in both emotional states and cognitive performance of children and adolescents. This large project started in 2018. So we went to schools to assess this population, and at that time, why we choose to study this. So children and adolescents in Portugal, they have a strict schedule, most focus on the morning schedules. And we found in the literature that since 4 or 5 years old, children have the tendency to morningness or to eveningness already defined. So we wanted to know what if this has an impact, and if it is, probably it's better to align the school schedule, but not only the school schedule, also the work of the parents has to change, because if you don't change the timing in which they're going to work, you don't change the life of children and adolescents, you don't give them the opportunity to be at their best during the day. Explicit memory was not our main focus only. So I'm from neuropsychology. So we actually had this large battery of neuropsychological assessment, both focus on attention and executive functioning, memory, and language. But we had several sessions of neuropsychological assessment because we were constrained to the timing of schools. We wanted to assess them in the first and in the last hour of school days to be more ecological and to actually try to get this influence of time of day related to the chronotype of each children and adolescents. We start to looking at this different development stage because we hypothesize that the maturation of these cognitive capacities will actually influence how time of day influence their performance. For example, we were expecting, as in the literature we found in adults and older adults, that older adults are more prone to synchrony effects because they are more vulnerable to these kind of effects. Even if they are small, they actually influence their performance. We saw this, for example, in clinical duties. So if you are in a neurology or psychiatry services, see older people, actually the timing in which you are assessing them is very important, not only because they are on medication and you have to know the effects of the medication, but also because these type of conditions, both neurological and psychiatric conditions, are more vulnerable to time of day effects. So this is clear in the literature, and we think that we thought that in children and adolescents will have the same pattern. So adolescents more prone to synchrony effects than children. Also because they have larger time of day differences, and they are have a higher tendency for eveningness. And we know that evening is more linked to mental health problems, to some changes in personality, so to other type of things that actually can put this population at risk. So probably it was this, and what we have done is just to assess them, and first we decide chronotype of each one, and we assign half of morning types and half of the evening types randomly to morning and afternoon sessions. Then we look at this. When they are having an optimal performance, is in the optimal time of day, so morning for morning types, or for non-optimal time of day. And the idea is that you find these two kinds of synchrony and asynchrony effects depending on the type of task, on the complexity of the task. If it is a task that is very control effort, usually more attentional focus needed, usually the morning is better, and it's better also the optimal time. But if you are in a task that is more creativity, you don't release too much control, it's more automatic processing, actually non-optimal will be okay. So we found in explicit memory mainly synchrony effects, but we also found some chronotype effects, but different from children and adolescents. In children, morning types were better than evening types, And for adolescents, actually, we found the opposite pattern: evening types better than morning types. And we hypothesized that evening type adolescents actually have to cope with these challenges of quickly adapting to a schedule that is not ideal for them. So, and probably they develop higher capacities in this regard. So probably we can actually integrate these results on that discussion. But this has several points that we can actually look at it. But and we, of course, it's better if you control also the duration, the quality of sleep. So we had some questions before the neuropsychological assessment to know if they eat well, if they sleep well in the night before. We had information coming from the parents also about their sleep. So, and we use all these data to actually figure out if these explicit memory effects actually were due to this time of day and chronotype factors, or these other things that can be influencing this. But mainly it was like this, and we hope that we actually highlight this for the school population to try to change a little bit the schedules, because nowadays, at least in Portugal, we have, for example, 9 o'clock in the morning they start for primary school children, but then you have 8:30 in the morning for adolescents. And the adolescents need more time to sleep and are more prone to eveningness. So actually, it's not well organized. The main problem in my area in neuropsychology linked to sleep research or to chronopsychology is mainly because we try to conduct studies. And if you conduct studies in the real world, there is a lot of factors that are contributed that make the difficulty for you to actually conduct the research. For example, for us to focus on morning and evening type children, we are focused on only a small part of the population, because most of the school population is intermediate chronotype. So the largest one is in this Gaussian curve, it's in the middle. So we are only looking at the extremes. So if you have only actually results for extremes, the school will not actually change anything for just a quarter of their population. They want to change things if they notice that, oh, it's very important. So if you find, for example, chronotype and time of day effects separately, and for intermediate also students, probably we can highlight, it's better to start assessing better between 10 and 12, or to actually concentrate, for example, at least the assessment dates, because we know that's very difficult to change other schedules. And also it's very important to actually use this type of information and has cross this information also with other information, like people working on shift working and other adults and older adult studies that actually show to the society that it's very important to actually align all the schedules, not only for the children and adolescents. And what we need now, much more, I think, is doing multicentric studies. So it's with larger samples, because until now, every time that you see an article that is relevant or has relevant results for us, it's always exploratory study, because it doesn't have the sample needed actually to have reliably results, so meaningful results. So we want to actually to do more connections and to have higher samples cross countries, but that's difficult in neuropsychology.